Like a lot of long-time fans of the franchise, I was disappointed with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. To me, it was a lackluster role-playing game wearing the Assassin's Creed name, with no connection to the overall franchise or any of the elements that brought Assassin's Creed fans in all the way back in the first 4 or 5 games. Really, this was an inevitable trajectory set by Assassin's Creed Origins, a game which, while a lot better than Odyssey, paved the way for many of the role-playing elements we saw in Odyssey. Now by the developers of both Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and the narrative director of Assassin's Creed Revelations and Black Flag, comes Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game which is, at least in part, striving to blend Assassin's Creed elements and this new role-playing style of Assassin's Creed game. Done right, this could pave a way forward for Assassin's Creed, a way of keeping all fans happy and secure their future on the next generation. Done wrong, they could lose their hardcore fanbase who were displeased with Odyssey and have been on their last straw for some time now, while transforming Assassin's Creed into a soulless husk of its former self. In this video, I'm going to take a look at what we know about this game to try and predict which one it's going to be. Without any further ado, let's get into it. First, let's take a look at how Valhalla is as a game. Even if it wasn't an Assassin's Creed game, I wouldn't be a fan of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, as I didn't find it to be a very engaging role-playing game, certainly nowhere near something as grand as the game it was emulating, The Witcher 3. This was part and thanks to its grindy nature and awkward tone, and quests which were nowhere near as interesting. Valhalla seems to be at the very least attempting to rectify a lot of that. For a start, the complete removal of the leveling system that seemed to define Origins and Odyssey means this game is going to be a lot less grindy, allowing the players to go about the main story and the side quest at whatever pace they wish. Adding to this, the side content is going to become a lot more streamlined. Rather than having the side content dotted throughout the map in a fetch quest-like manner, the side content is going to be integrated within the world, so everything is going to be discovered seamlessly and naturally. Quests will have meaning, they'll have a reason to happen, and when done in the new settlement system in the game, which will serve it as a sort of hub area, they will have a personal connection to the protagonist, Eivor. Eivor is a Viking warrior from Norway who has reached the shores of England in an effort to find a new home for his clan. The marketing of the game is very much oriented on the Viking fantasy: raid, pillage, plunder. It reminds me a lot of Black Flag, which was very much focused on pirates. One big new feature is raids, which gives the player the ability to assault large forts with your Viking crew. This is different to Odyssey, where it would give you conquest battles with nameless characters to kill. These will have actual characters and actual storylines for you to follow. Similarly, in Odyssey you had cultists to assassinate, most of whom were just characterless NPCs. Now, that system returns, but when you kill your target, there is an actual confession, similar to old AC games, and you get to have a conversation with the person you've killed. The game is still a role-playing game in the sense that you choose what your character is saying, but in Odyssey your choices would leave you with two directly clashing answers, leaving your missions feeling like they lacked any concise character. Again, dissimilar to The Witcher 3, which also offered choice, but all of your choices sound like something the base character of Geralt would actually say. According to narrative director Darby McDevitt, a veteran of the franchise who hasn't let us down once, Valhalla will offer choices that all feel in line with the character of Eivor. The open world again seems massive. The majority of England is in the game, as well as parts of Norway, and Asgard and Jotunheim are going to be explorable locations. England is the primary setting for the game, and in my opinion, it looks gorgeous. It's amazing to see an adaptation of the lands in which I live, historically of course. There's going to be a sprawling countryside, but also massive cities like London and Winchester in the game, which will apparently deliver a lot on that classic Assassin's Creed parkour experience. This time, however, the game seems to be a lot more densely packed with meaningful content throughout the open world. The regular raids of fortresses and such are still there, but don't appear as icons all over your map for you to check off, allowing the game to feel a lot more natural and a lot less checkboxy. The game's combat looks alright, quite similar to the last few games, but this time it does look like enemies won't be damage sponges so much, and you'll have a variety of weapon configurations in combat with the option to dual wield any combination of weapons, as the ability system from Odyssey makes a return to make the combat system more dynamic. Social stealth is making a return, a classic AC element that hasn't been seen since Syndicate, though to what extent we're not quite sure yet, and your hidden blade will once again be able to one-hit all enemies except from bosses. In regard to the story, I do have complete faith that Darby McDevitt is going to deliver on this. He gave us Revelations and Black Flag, probably two of the best stories in any Assassin's Creed game. We don't know much except that there will be three storylines, one focusing on Eivor's personal story, one focusing on the story of his Viking clan, and one focused on the war between the Hidden Ones and the Order of the Ancients. It has been heavily implied that we will get to see how these organisations become the Assassin Brotherhood and Templar Order respectively, so that will be very interesting to see. You have the option to choose your gender again, or let the animus decide for you, which will weirdly switch your gender throughout the game. This is weird, but apparently there's going to be a narrative reason for it, so we'll have to wait and see. You can also customise your Eivor's hair and tattoos, and of course, your gear. Gear is making a return, but the game is going to focus more on it, and you upgrade and keep pieces of gear that you like, rather than forcing new loot that instantly outclasses a legendary sword that you picked up every few seconds. And there's also the Resettlement system. Assassin's Creed games have been declining in their hub areas for a long time. AC2 and AC3 did them spectacularly, AC4's was passable, AC Unities and AC Syndicates were both letdowns, and Origins and Odyssey completely lacked them. While they're making a return in Valhalla, bigger and better than ever, with many quests tied to the expansion of your settlement as your settlement grows as you complete more quests throughout the game. The settlement takes some inspiration from Red Dead Redemption 2's camp system, as you'll be able to meet and interact and build relationships with a large cast of regular characters. How much impact these characters will have on the game is still uncertain. Overall, Assassin's Creed Valhalla has tidied up a lot of the mess that was Assassin's Creed Odyssey from a gameplay perspective. The tone is a lot more serious, the story is going to be a lot better, the grind is greatly diminished, the content is going to become more meaningful, and overall the game just looks better, and more fun on pretty much every level than Odyssey. But is it an Assassin's Creed game? Origins and Odyssey both slowly chipped away elements of Assassin's Creed. Origins had no assassins at all until the end of the game, and Odyssey didn't even have that. Social stealth, hidden blades, the Assassin Brotherhood, these are all things of the past, or rather future, in Odyssey. In Valhalla, all of these things make a return. Eivor's hidden blade is heavily featured in the marketing, albeit on the wrong side of his wrist, although I'm sure this will have some sort of in-game explanation. A couple of obvious ones already spring to mind. The Hidden Ones are taking their name quite literally, as they're hidden within the Assassin's Creed Valhalla marketing. Amongst the story trailers and in screenshots online, all wearing very AC1-esque robes, the game Valhalla is closest to on the timeline. Their presence is undeniably in the game, and one of the three main plotlines of the game will be surrounding the Proto-Assassins and the Proto-Templars. In addition, there will be a Hidden Ones bureau very similar to the Assassin bureaus in Assassin's Creed 1, where you'll be given assassination missions for various targets throughout the world, which you will be able to turn in for lore tidbits and gear. The ability to one-hit enemies in assassinations means that the game will be a lot more friendly to players who wish to play stealth, something that was not just enabled but encouraged in old Assassin's Creed games. Not only this, but the return of social stealth allows a player to become a blade in the crowd once more, blending into the environment and truly feeling like an assassin as you swoop in for the kill. Social gameplay has even been expanded with a new feigned death ability in combat to allow you to get the advantage on enemies. In terms of modern day, the return of classic character Sean Hastings has been teased, and while I'm not the biggest fan on the Layla Hassan story in the game's modern day at the moment, it is at least being continued here and not dropped like a sack of shit as one might expect from Ubisoft these days, and the game is meant to serve as a conclusion to that story. This is all very well and good, but you have to remember this is all hidden under a Viking game. Based on all the marketing, the game seems to be Viking first, Assassin second, which is of course better than having no assassins at all, but it's nothing like the first or second game where the entire focus is upon being an assassin. It's worked before. For example, Black Flag was very much a pirate game first and an Assassin's Creed game second, at least in the marketing, but once you play the game, you realise those assassin elements are still there and play a profound impact on the story. I hope that's still the case here. The two words I would use to describe my feelings toward Assassin's Creed Valhalla are cautiously optimistic. The game looks like it could be the best of both worlds. It's got enough Assassin's Creed elements to keep the core fanbase happy, while also retaining the RPG elements that brought so many to the franchise with Origins and Odyssey. What we don't know is how the game balances the two. Has it found a perfect equilibrium, or has it skewed too far away from the franchise's roots yet again? I think one of the more optimistic possible reasons for the suspicious lack of details on the Assassin/Templar story is that most of those details entail heavy spoilers, and we'll have to wait and see just how exactly it plays out. Or not. It's also entirely possible that the role in the marketing has been diminished because their role in the game has also been diminished. If, and I emphasise if, that is the case, then for me, Assassin's Creed has lost me for good. I had a honeymoon phase with this new style of RPG game with Origins, which in retrospect was deeply flawed, which grew into my utter disdain for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and now I have a glimmer of hope for Valhalla, and I think a lot of fans of the franchise are feeling the same way I am, a glimmer of hope that maybe Valhalla could be everything all of us have wanted. But for me, and as I said, a lot of other longtime fans of the franchise, this is Ubisoft's final chance, their last straw. If Valhalla gets this right, I will keep Assassin's Creed as a treasured franchise in my heart going into the next generation and continue to be interested in their games. If they get this wrong, and especially because of the accusations of sexual misconduct in the workplace that have plagued Ubisoft this year, then they've lost me and many others as fans. Assassin's Creed, or what Assassin's Creed used to be, will become an old relic of the past as this new, twisted RPG parades around in its old and weary skin. Well guys, that's pretty much my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Valhalla off my chest. I'm hopeful, I really am. I really want to like this game, but we will see when the game is released on the 10th of November. I will be doing a review again, not quite as long as the one I did for Odyssey, which you can check out, and I'll let you know if Valhalla is anything like what I want it to be. With that said, drop a like if you enjoyed the video guys, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and please bear in mind, this video is just my opinion. With all that done, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.